Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to DBR Podcast, Duke Basketball Roundup, DBR Bites, episode number 157. Jason and Donald with you here. It's been a few days. I don't think we've gone this long without a podcast.
It's been a while.
Last summer, Donald.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I didn't even catch up on any sleep. We didn't get to rest or anything like that. We just had other stuff that we were doing. And Jason, I think you're probably going to mention this, so I'm going to steal your thunder. The stats game is coming. That was also part of we got to get 4 schedules for that one. So check your feeds very soon for that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we took a few days off after the end of the season for the Duke Blue Devils. We're recording this right at 10 a.m. on Friday morning, the 3rd of April. We will, over the weekend, be also providing you with the season wrap-up, as in the stats game, reflecting on all the predictions we made at the beginning of the year and how very, very wrong most of them were. So we'll have that for you over the weekend. We're not doing, obviously, very much Final Four content. Good luck to all those teams. They are not Duke Blue Devils, and my interest, Donald, my interest is low. But we do have some Duke stuff we need to get through for you, just so everybody's aware of what's going on out there. First of all, postseason awards are coming in, and a lot of hardware headed to Durham. Let me see if I can get through all of these really quick. So John Shire has been named NABC Coach of the Year. By the way, I should start off by saying this. It's worth noting that the biggest name awards, which in my opinion are the AP awards, the Naismith, and the Wooden Awards. Those are like the ones that everyone really, really focuses on. Not to say that the ones we're about to go through are not important, but those are the really big ones. Those are all probably going to come, those are all going to come this weekend in and around the Final Four. They do ceremonies and the such there. I think that probably a number of the names that we're talking about here are also going to show up there.
Well, also, Jason, as we've kind of mentioned, even we had this discussion last year with Cooper Flagg, because there was obviously who would be named consensus All-American between him and Janai Broome. And we mentioned that there are 6 major National Player of the Year awards that one can win. And they kind of use that to determine who would be considered the consensus National Player of the Year. We're talking about the first 3 right now. And then the big 3, as you mentioned, come up over the weekend. So we're not there to kind of declare consensus, but all signs are trending towards one Cam Boozer.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So again, really quick, let me go through the awards that have been named over the past week or so. The various Blue Devils have won. John Shire has won the NABC Coach of the Year. Carlos Boozer has won the Sporting News Player of the Year, the NABC Player of the Year.
Cam Boozer.
Sorry?
Cam Boozer. Carlos has no eligibility left.
Did I say Carlos? Did I really do that?
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Cam Boozer has won the Sporting News Player of the Year, the NABC Player of the Year, the College Insider Player of the Year. Cam also won the NABC Freshman of the Year and Big Man of the Year. He's the first person ever to sweep all 3 of those awards. And then Malik Brown was named the Lefty Drysdale Award winner as the nation's top defensive player. A huge honor for Malik. He won ACC Defensive Player of the Year, but this is a big deal to win the National Defensive Player of the Year award for him. A dude who plays 20 minutes a game, doesn't even start, and that's how impactful his defense is. So huge, tip of the cap to all 3 of those Dukies who are just bringing in a whole mess of hardware.
Well, again, as I kind of alluded to, I think Cam Boozer is on his way to be the unanimous National Player of the Year. He's won every single one of them, even the smaller ones that you didn't mention. He's won those as well. He's been a unanimous. I think the AP named him unanimous first team All-American, which is usually a big clue as to who they're going to give the award to. I'm super happy for him in all of those accounts. Dare I say, Jason, I'm happier in a way that Malik Brown was named top defensive player, because damn it, did he earn that? Like you said, it's very hard for someone to not start and win that award. The fact that he won that award while having, the metrics were basically double that of every other player defensively. despite playing usually 20 to 22 minutes a game, is simply remarkable. And then for John Shire, I know he doesn't like to talk about himself, but he was the coach of the year in my mind. And the fact that he finally, a Duke coach, has been named National Player of the Year, it's been a long, 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 long time since we've heard those words next to a Duke coach's name. I think it speaks to not just what he did this year, but his coaching staff. And I know we're going to have some turnover that I'm sure we'll discuss as that comes along throughout the offseason with Ever Brad's moving on to Belmont. But John Shire should at least sit back tonight and kind of, take a gander and say, we had a good year. And because we had a good year, this nice little trophy is sitting in my office.
By the way, so I misspoke and said Carlos instead of Cameron Boozer. You misspoke and said that John Shire won Player of the Year. You meant to say
he should have won Player of the Year, but I meant Coach of the Year. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
We're rusty after 5 days off, so
exactly. Right. Let's get to some other stuff. I want to reflect really quick. This won't take very long, but Caden Boozer. There was an article that talked about the fact that in the wake of the Duke's loss to UConn, where Caden Boozer had that final turnover, that Caden Boozer has been getting unbelievable, horrible online abuse. Much of it's coming from gamblers. You can sort of tell by the nature of the messages. And the NCAA has been really, really working on this, that gambling on college games, especially college props and things like that, how many points and rebounds, assists a player will get, all kinds of other gambling on college games has grown exponentially in recent years. And as a result, there are people out there who just go online and criticize, get mad at a player if he doesn't get enough points, or if a team doesn't cover, or whatever else it may be. So a lot of what Caden's getting is gambler abuse, and a lot of it, I think, is just regular trolls, people who have nothing better to do with their time than be jerks. And jerks is a very tame word.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm certain, even though this article didn't talk about it extensively, I'm certain, because Donald, frankly, you and I have seen and heard some of the abuse from Duke fans who are mad at Caden. I'm certain that some of the messages Caden has gotten on his social media and elsewhere is from people who are Duke fans. And by the way, I should back up and say that's Duke fans in quotation marks. Frankly, if you are someone who is going to send hateful messages to a Duke player because you didn't think he played well or because he made a mistake, you're not a Duke fan. You're an asshole. And we don't want any part of you in our community. I think I read this article. It made me viscerally angry because these kids don't deserve anything close to that. And honestly, if you are a fan of a team and of players, if you're a sports fan who supports your team, that doesn't mean that you support them only when things go well, and when things go badly, you start bad-mouthing them. It means that you're there for them regardless of the result. I find it reprehensible that someone would call themselves a Duke fan, that someone would pretend to be a Duke fan and would have criticism for Caden Boozer or for anyone on the team. A guy misses a free throw and you're going to criticize him, whatever else it may be. It's entirely inappropriate. Donald, it's the reason that we term, the part of the podcast where we have things that we didn't like in a game, we talk about it as things to work on. I can't say strongly enough how awful this is. And I'll go ahead and add this last item to it. I hope there are Duke fans out there listening to my voice right now who will attempt to reach out to Caden, whether it be, Instagram or whatever social media platform it may be that you find him on. Tell him he's still beloved. Tell him that you still root for him every damn day. And just give all these guys all the support that they deserve. They gave us countless hours of pleasure. And the fact that things didn't end the way we wanted them to doesn't diminish that in any way, shape, or form.
Jason, I didn't read that article because I didn't need to. I saw it online, and I can say that's in a way that you can't. There was some stuff on there that wasn't abuse anymore. It trended beyond that. And let's just say people know to attack different things about a person when they are of color. I saw a lot of that as well. And like you said, it wasn't, I don't even know who they were. I don't care if they were gamblers. I don't care if they're people purporting to be Duke fans. It's stupid. It sucks. And it shouldn't be there. I think also people very quickly forget that Caden Boozer is the reason why we were in the Elite Eight in the first place.
He was
His emergence in March.
Few weeks. Oh,
yeah, his emergence in March is the reason why we won an ACC tournament. It's the reason why we were in that position. And he made a mistake. He didn't make the mistake. I know he took ownership of it, but we almost expected him to do that because that's the kind of maturity that he's shown all year. But he didn't make the mistake. He made one mistake of many, and even that mistake didn't cost the season because you still needed a miracle. And we said that in the aftermath of everything when we saw just how painfully he was taking it. I just want to say to Caden, you were not the reason we lost, man. We win as a team, we lose as a team, and we includes me and you, Jason. We take this together. We're not hurting nearly as much as they are, but we're hurting pretty damn much about this game, and it's because of a comedy of things. It's just a bunch of different things put together that led to that moment. And so, sure, people are going to look at that moment. I'm sure when one shining moment happens, he's going to be in it in a negative way. And I hope that the abuse doesn't tick up because of that. But I think people need to watch what they say online to people. It's obviously stuff they wouldn't say to their face. And I think that can affect how people view our fan base. And so I want that to stop immediately. And I just want Caden to know that he is beloved. He is the man. We hope that, as I said on Sunday, I hope that he comes back and has a year that we look back and we go, see, told you he was going to come back and he was going to dominate. I want that for him, almost probably as much as he wants it for himself. And so, yeah, I hope he's in a better place today than he was a few days ago. I know we all are in many different ways. But I hope that he looks through that or at least ignores it because, and I know it's hard to, for some of these comments that I saw, it was hard for me to ignore it. So I know it's hard for him. I hope that he's in a better place where he can kind of look back and go, I had a successful year. I improved from day one till now. And now it's time to focus on my off season and get ready for next season.
100%. Absolutely. Hey, I want to get to one other thing and then we're going to take a quick break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about some stuff about Duke's roster for next year, which I know a lot of people are very eager to hear about. Don't dwell in the past, look to the future. That's what all us Duke fans are all about. But I wanted to mention very quickly, the Athletic did a poll of 51 coaches around college basketball, most of them major college coaches, both head coaches and assistant coaches. They asked every one of them to pick a top 5. What are the 5 best jobs in all of college basketball? And there was a runaway, unbelievable winner. It wasn't even close. The Duke job, the job currently held by Mr. Jonathan Shire, is considered far and away the top job in all of college basketball. Of the 51 coaches who were surveyed, 37 of them picked Duke number 1, said Duke was absolutely the best job. Additionally, every single one of the coaches that were surveyed put Duke in their top 5. There is no other school where there was 100% agreement that this is one of the 5 best jobs in all of college basketball, which I think is really fascinating. So Duke was the runaway winner. Duke had a point system. Duke had 233 total points. You have to go all the way back to 143 points for the second place team. Second place was actually a tie between Kentucky and Carolina. UNC had 5 first place votes. Kentucky had 3, and they tied for second at 143 total points. Functionally, it was actually a 3-way tie for second because Kansas had 142 points. So basically what you heard was Duke's the runaway number 1. Kentucky, Carolina, and Kansas are basically tied for second, third, and fourth. Mm-hmm. And then there's a pretty big drop back, only 33 points for the 5th place school, which was UConn. Arizona was next with 28. Michigan had 12 points. Florida had 8. But by the way, the fact that I'm talking point totals this low shows you that pretty much almost everybody, again, not everyone, but almost everybody said Duke, Kentucky, UNC, Kansas, and then they're sort of trying to figure out the fifth school to put in there. Interesting to note, I mentioned, UConn comes in fifth, Arizona sixth, Michigan seventh, Florida eighth, and it's pretty easy to look at that and go, oh, they're just picking the schools that are really good today, because all those schools had great seasons this year. The school that tied with Florida was Texas, and Texas actually got a first place vote. That says to me that a lot of these guys are like, Texas is a big, like, Texas hasn't been that great in recent years. Like, when was the last time Texas was a 1 or a 2 seed? It's been a long time, been a while.
Texas got money.
Texas got money, exactly. Makes you wonder kind of about the job that Sean Miller was in his first year. That makes you wonder about the job he's doing. That everyone's like, this is a really great job, and yet they're barely making the tournament. Anyway, I just thought it was a really interesting list. Not that surprising, and it's probably how I would have done the list. I would have sort of been like, yeah, Duke, and then Kentucky, UNC, Kansas, all just like right behind them, and then Florida, UConn, sure, Arizona, makes sense to me. But I like seeing it affirmed by coaches, not by the opinion of fans or journalists. Coaches agree Duke is the overwhelming best job in all of college basketball.
I mean, I agree with the coaches. I think also, Jason, it speaks to the success of the athletic department, like as a whole. Can you, Jason, I think you know this off the top of your head. Can you give me the list of the teams of the schools that have won a women's basketball ACC championship and an ACC championship in men's basketball and an ACC championship in football in the same school year? Can you give me that list real quick?
Yes. So the list is so Duke did it, and that's it.
That's it. That's the list. And I think, again, that's a testament to Nina King and the athletic department that has been built over the years with, and also in this NIL era, how they have built this department to be successful in so many different sports. We just named 3. That's not counting the lacrosses and baseball and softball and field hockey and all these other schools that are very, very good. Golf, women's golf especially, that are competing for ACC championships, that are competing for national championships. And the track and field and fencing and all those people that in the diving that they send to the Olympics. This athletic department has a lot of success in a lot of different areas. And so it's been a terrific job by Nina King and her staff to kind of make sure all of these are in sync while still having the money available to improve the sports that they need to improve on, or to get players that they want, namely in football and men's basketball, having that NIL component there and being able to break that down so that we are smart about using our money, but also still being able to get the best players. It's not a lot of schools can do that. And I think a lot of coaches see that. It's not just the recruiting part, it's the keeping people happy. I think part of that, Jason, is seeing so many guys come back and they go, the portal came for them and didn't get to touch them, right? Like we're the lone school that had no rotation players enter the portal. Sure, we lost 5 guys to the draft, but we kept the other 5 that could have easily gone somewhere else and made a bunch of money and started and played 35 minutes. So I love the fact that coaches are recognizing it. I'm sure, if John Shire ever left 40 years from now, whatever coaches are still around from this list are going to be salivating at the fact that, hey, maybe I have a chance here. But at that point, John Shire will probably have built a coaching tree so vast that we could just look through that and find our next one. So again, we're leaving our school in a good place here, and I think testament to Nina King and her staff for keeping everything organized and keeping everything in sync and in motion and moving in one direction, which is forward.
By the way, this list is especially pertinent because right now at the Final Four, everyone's talking about the fact that the number 2 job on the list, the UNC job, is open. But it's worth noting, if folks haven't heard, that over at Kansas, Bill Self has said he is going to come back. There was speculation Bill Self might leave the Kansas job, but the UNC job is open. 2 high-profile jobs, 2 high-profile coaches from Arizona and Michigan are very much rumored to be the top candidates for that job. They're currently at the Final Four. There's a lot of talk
about
that
to play each other.
Yeah, they also play each other. There's lots of talk that the reason we have not heard who Carolina is hiring is because that coach is still involved at the Final Four. I think that's pretty likely at this point. So we'll see if it's Dusty May or who knows what happens. But the list shows you Arizona and Michigan may be really, really great jobs, but Carolina is a step up the pecking order.
Well, I also think even those, as you mentioned, those top 3 or 4 schools, what that shows me is that those are seismic shifts. Like if the Duke job ever opened, if the Carolina job, now that it's open, right? And we hate to say it, but like Carolina is trying to find somebody that would make a seismic shift. A team that is in the Final Four right now could be in the national championship game, could lose their coach. Like imagine that, right? Like that's what we're talking about here. And so that is where, okay, now one of those teams would have to find a good coach. They're going to try and find someone that's going to shake the trees, right? And it's all about momentum too. These schools are going to want to hire somebody that everyone goes, oh, okay, this team's not going to go anywhere. This team's still going to be successful. That's what those 4 teams can do whenever they shake up their coaching lineup.
All right. You, by the way, a moment ago, you were mentioning the fact that Duke kept their guys out of the portal last year. Coming up, we're going to take a quick break, but on the other side, we'll talk about, is that going to happen this year? Maybe not. I'm not going to say we have huge insider news or anything like that, but Donald and I are going to go through a little bit of the roster construction process, what's happening with the Blue Devils in terms of guys who we know are coming, incoming freshmen, and guys who could be coming, could be leaving. We'll give you a little taste of what we've been hearing in just a moment.
DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, is built for March. The tournament is unexpected. Rewards are guaranteed. DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering the most generous rewards on the market.
Yeah, with DraftKings, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, you're not betting on what might happen. You're betting what's happening. Are you new to DraftKings? Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DukeBB. That's code DukeBB to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets instantly. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, Duke fans, do you have hunger pains? Are you snacking all the time? For me, eating healthy, it isn't a willpower problem. It's a setup problem. Until I found Factor. With Factor, I'm hitting my nutrition goals this season without the planning or the grocery runs.
Yeah, Jason, Factor has meals built around your goals, whether that's weight loss, original nutrition, more protein, or GLP-1 support. For strength and workout recovery, check out Factor's Muscle Pro collection. And every meal is crafted with functional ingredients, lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. No artificial colors or sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup, no refined seed oils, just nutrient-dense food.
Head to factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off. Again, use that code DukeBB50 off to get 50% off and free daily greens per box with a new subscription only while supplies last until September 27th of this year. See the Factor website for more details. All right, we're back from the break. Jason and Donald on the DBR podcast. And Donald, I want to start with the McDonald's All-American game and the McDonald's All-American practices, which was our first really good looks at Duke's 2 5-star prospects. Bryson Howard, by the way, is also a 5-star prospect. He did not participate. He wasn't selected. We've talked about that in the past. Ridiculous, outrageous, whatever. Mm-hmm. There'll be other all-star games for us to see him and get a flavor of him. But we want to talk about both Darren Rippey, Ron, and Cameron Williams. Cameron Williams. Boy, I'm having trouble with first names, especially when it's Cameron. I want to start with Darren Rippey. If you watched the McDonald's All-American game, as I did, then you certainly came away with the impression that Darren Rippey is a special talent, elite Donald, elite quickness and athleticism combined with really great court vision. Dude is he was made to be a point guard and an explosive. It's been a long time. Duke has had great point guards. The Jones brothers, you can go on and on. There have been some great point guards at Duke. I'm trying to think the last time we had one who was this athletically explosive. Maybe Kyrie or Jay Will.
Someone I was gonna say Kyrie, and then Jay Will going back even further. Yeah,
yeah. Although not entirely. Like, I want to be clear. Kyrie and Jay Will were better shooters than Ron is. By the way, Duran Rippey goes by Ron. Mm-hmm. They're better shooters than Rippey is, but Rippey is just a really great athletic talent. Numerous people who are scouts who do this kind of thing for a living basically said he was one of the 5 most impressive players at the practices and at the McDonald's All-American game. He had one spin move kind of thing. I wouldn't even describe it as a spin move. I don't even know how I could describe it. If you've been on social media, you've probably seen it. It was one of the biggest highlights from the game. The thing about the play was it showed just remarkable court vision, in my opinion. Now, he scored 7 points. He had 4 assists, 5 rebounds. He was 0 of 3 from three-point range. And the book on Rippey is that he's not yet a great three-point. He's better than 0 of 3, but he's not yet a great three-point shooter. It's worth noting he hit 3 out of 4 2-point field goals. And his passing just demonstrated remarkable feel for the game, advanced game smarts and that kind of thing. It's really hard, by the way, to be a pass first kind of player in the McDonald's All-American game. Even though these guys, they practice together for like 4 or 5 days, you don't get the knowledge of where your teammates are going to be, what kind of plays you're going to run. It's not nearly the same as you get even like in the blue-white game. These Duke guys know each other 10 times as well as the guys know each other at the McDonald's All-American game. And the last thing on Rippey is I want to mention, I think it's significant that he was the starting point guard for his team and that he played the second most minutes of anyone on his team. That shows that the coaches, again, in limited time seeing these players, recognize this is the guy that we want the ball in his hands. And it is super exciting to see what he's going to do coming to Duke next year.
Watching Rippey and seeing some of the stuff before the McDonald's All-America game, it was like people were kind of saying like his game is Kyrie Irving meets Derrick Rose, like as far as like handles plus explosiveness. Now, again, we're not saying that he's 2 future Hall of Famers, but he has that kind of game in his bag, and I think that is what excites Duke fans the most, is being able to add that element, his ability to get to the lane, his ability to make that good pass. You mentioned, Jason, very sneakily, his ability to get rebounds. Like we love point guards who can rebound as well, because long shots equal long rebounds. A lot of times you want everyone to be involved on the glass. So I didn't get to see a lot of him play in the few minutes I was covering a soccer game on Tuesday night, so I wasn't able to see what he could do. I'm sorry, on Wednesday night. But I love the fact that he has those kind of handles. That's what excites me. I was at that Michigan State game, Jason, when Kyrie went off for 30. And at that point, we're like, oh, we're going undefeated. We're winning a national championship.
And don't even get me started.
Yeah, that team right there. Hey, they're one of 2 posters that hang on my wall because I thought that team had it all. But I think Duran excites me in that way to see what he can do. So I'm really looking forward to getting a Duke jersey on him, throwing him on the court, and seeing what he can do.
Yeah, and he seems like a leader too. He's very outspoken. In a lot of the interviews, he talked about how excited
his coach when he was on the show talked about that very same thing, his leadership.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go back and listen to that episode, folks. When Ron commits and we had his coach on here to talk about what a special player
in the Lincoln Tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. Dude called us from the Lincoln Tunnel. It was kind of amazing. All right, so the other Duke guy in that game is Cameron Williams. Started for his team, played the 3rd most minutes on the West squad. 9 points for Cam on 3 of 8 shooting, just 1 of 4 from three-point range. He has a reputation as one of the great outside shooters among big men out there. Not really. He only had 3 rebounds, did Cameron Williams. Not a banger, mostly stayed outside. has a gorgeous looking shot. You can tell this dude's going to be able to fill it up and score in some really, really interesting ways from the perimeter. But again, a player like him, this kind of all-star game doesn't suit his game very well. I'm pleased that he even got 9 points because it really these all-star games just there's certain kind of guys that they work for, and there's certain kind of guys that they don't. And I just look at Cameron Williams' game, and I'm sort of like, it doesn't fit with sort of the nature of kind of an explosive, let's just dunk on everybody kind of all-star game, which is not his style. He doesn't have the frame to go in there and be this power player on the inside. So I like what we're seeing from him. I believe that Cameron Williams is going to be a very, very significant player for the Blue Devils next year. I just don't know that we saw a lot of what he can be in the All-Star game at the McDonald's game.
You know, I saw a little bit of his game during the McDonald's All-American game. That was the portion when there was like a minute in the second quarter, a few minutes in the second quarter that he was in. And Jason, I think you're right. The All-American games, these All-Star games tend to lend themselves to smaller players who are athletic, right? And who can either shoot from 70 feet or are athletic. He's neither. He's a 6'11" guy who can shoot 3-pointers. He also does have rim protection. We've seen that from him in high school, but you're also not trying to dunk on people in the All-Star game. Like, guys are getting out of the way. It's kind of that regard. So you're not going to see the full untapped potential for him, but man, he's going to be a special player. I do like his name is Cameron. For him, I don't like the fact that he's got to follow up another Cameron who had huge expectations. But I think he was going to, go past that. I think he's going to be a really good player. Jason, real quick, I did also want to know, I didn't get the chance to see them play, but Kara Lawson had two women in the two girls in the girls All-American game for McDonald's. Autumn Fleury, who's a 5'7" point guard from right up the road here at Sidwell Friends. She played on the East team, and Bella Fleming's a 6-foot guard from San Antonio. She was in the West team. So we're reloading on both sides, Jason. Both teams get to the Elite Eight. They have some heartbreaking losses in the Elite Eight, but they're loading up with talent from the McDonald's All-American game. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. No question about it. The future is bright. I do want to note just super quickly the nature of the current class of high schoolers. It just doesn't look like it is. Donald, we're coming off a season where we saw some of the greatest freshman performances that we've ever seen in college basketball. Next year's class is not. We've said it on this show before. Anyone who follows high school recruiting understands next year's class isn't anywhere close to the current class that is about to wrap up their season. I don't expect, as good as I expect Darren Rippey to be, as good as I expect Cam Williams to be, I don't expect either of them to have anywhere close to the impact that Cam Boozer had, that Cooper Flagg had, heck, even that Con Knipple had for Duke. I don't want expectation. Just because Cam Williams is the number 3 player in the class, number 2, number 3, somewhere in that kind of ballpark, don't expect him to be as impactful as Cam Boozer was as the number 3 player in his high school class.
Like, I mean, to put it in perspective, in this upcoming NBA draft, they're expecting that 10, maybe even 12, the first 12 picks could be freshmen. That's never happened before. We even sometimes get like an international player in there. They're saying that at minimum, you're probably going to get the first 10 picks of the NBA draft to be freshmen, and even going into the late lottery, all freshmen. So that's how deep a class that this
it's considered one of the best. It's considered one of the best drafts in years. Yeah,
years, and one of the best freshman class of all time. This class is not going to have that kind of impact on college basketball. But again, I think that's where, as we are about to talk about, roster construction for some of these teams is going to be super important to kind of minimize the pressure that these guys have to try to live up to what we saw on the court this year.
All right, you just teased it. Let's get into it. Let's get into a little bit of the roster construction kind of stuff that's going on, and I want to stress a lot of what we're going to talk about here is it's not stuff that we've heard from inside sources. There have been some little rumors here and there. It's a lot of rampant speculation, and I apologize if anyone is bothered by rampant speculation, but I want to get into a little bit of it that is out there in the in the internetosphere, if you want to call it that. The first thing to mention is this, because this is something that everyone's connecting to Duke. Kansas big man Flory Badunga has entered the transfer portal. It says he's also exploring the NBA draft. Unclear how much he's going to explore the NBA draft. Most people think that he's not super suited to be a first round draft pick. You never know what happens. Guys work out and talk to NBA teams and the such. It's not that Badunga doesn't have skills the NBA might want at some point, but doesn't look like he's going to be a big time NBA prospect. And there are just a lot of folks out there who say that the Kansas big man, we've faced him 2 years in a row, played pretty well against Duke both games. There are a lot of people out there who say that Flory Badunga is very interested perhaps in coming to play basketball for the Duke Blue Devils. It's worth noting that Duke recruited Flory pretty hard.
Pretty heavily.
And in fact,
yeah.
In fact, there were a lot of folks who expected him to pick Duke until he switched to Kansas at the very, very last minute. A lot of reporting that he was all set to commit to Duke and literally switched to Kansas in the final few hours. So he already knows John Shire. He knows Duke. He's visited Duke in the past and has at least a little bit of a sense of a connection to the program from being heavily recruited by Duke. The question is, if he really wants to go through the NBA process, does Duke wait for him? And then the other part of the question is Patrick Gungba coming back? Because I don't think there's a scenario where both Flory Badunga and Patrick Gungba are on the same team. They both play center, and it just doesn't. I don't think even though you want a backup center, and even though we saw Pat and Malik split time for the most part this year, it doesn't make sense for you to invest that much in one position on the floor. So it becomes a challenge perhaps for John Shire, especially if Badunga's going through the NBA stuff. Does Shire wait around for him? I don't know. It's a big question. I do want to mention, Flory Badunga was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He is a great rim protector. He is an absolute terror close to the basket. Dude just dunks and dunks. But his frame, literally his frame isn't that huge. And he does sometimes get pushed around by physical big men. Donald, if you watch when Kansas lost to St. John's, he only had 5 total rebounds in that game. They lost to Arizona earlier this year. It was a game Flory Badunga had 2 points on 1 of 5 shooting, just 4 rebounds. He can get pushed around a little bit by really physical big men in a way that Patrick Gungba, frankly, doesn't. Pat gets in there and really battles in a way that, again, that I'm not sure Badunga does the same kind of stuff. I know a lot of people are connecting Badunga to Duke. I'm unsure about this one. I like him. He's a great player. Again, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, average double-digit points for a very good Kansas team. But I just wonder a little bit if he's the right fit at Duke. Also, he would cost a lot. Let's just be clear. You have an NIL budget, and Flory Badunga will cost a premium. He'll probably be one of the 5 or 10 most expensive players in the portal. And I wonder if maybe there are a lot of big men who've declared who've entered the portal already. This looks like a big men kind of year in the portal, and I wonder if you can get better value from different big men. I don't know, Donald. The guy hasn't committed to Duke. We don't know anything other than there's rumors that he's connected. I'm not sure that he's the best fit for the Blue Devils. Let's just put it that way.
It's interesting because I kind of can see why there would be interest there on both sides. Obviously for Badunga, but really for Duke as well, because we saw some of those sets this year. And as we know, there are times where John likes to go big, really big. And if you think about the potential for, Pat Gongba, Cam Williams, and Flory Badunga on the floor at the same time, the fact that Pat, as you mentioned, can bang in the post, but he can also guard big guys out on the wing. Cam Williams is going to be a guy who's probably going to do a little bit of both as well. And that way you can leave Flory Badunga in the middle to just clog up the middle, and you still have that spacing. You don't have a bunch of guys kind of clogging in the same spot. I don't know if
so you're the guy saying Duke's going to have Pat and Flory, huh?
No. I'm saying that it's a possibility. I don't know enough about this to say that it's like foregone conclusion either way. But I think that it's interesting that he is considering Duke, and that at least from what we've heard, that Duke is at least kicking the tires on him. And I, let's also, Jason, be clear. There was going to be a ton of people who were going to enter the portal and they're going to say Duke is mentioned as being interested. I'm a Real Madrid fan. Jason, you can see it right here above my shoulder here. Real Madrid. Every time someone wants to transfer, like Real Madrid is interested. Why? Because it kicks up the price for everybody else. If Duke is interested, that means you should be interested too. And also, you need to pay a premium because Real Madrid's got a lot of money. They can pay a premium. So you're going to see a lot of this. We saw this last year, right? How many point guards did we see declare for the portal, and then all of a sudden it was like Duke is interested in this one, and then all of a sudden they end up somewhere else for a big bag of dough. This is all part of the game. So I don't take any of these super seriously until it's something to be serious about, until we have some real concrete sourcing that says, hey, this is about to happen, or this is a game that Duke is playing. So again, we can kind of imagine. And again, I like the big lineups possibilities and the flexibility that there is there. But I also do think that Duke needs to go after a portal big of some kind. I think bigs, we learned this year, size is important. You can teach everything else. You cannot teach 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet tall. You just can't teach it. So if you have a guy out there that's doing it, that's something to be interested in. And Jason, I'll just note as a joke, I mentioned this is a joke. 7'9" Olivier Rieu's in the portal. So we can kick the tires on him too. When I say he can stand there and take up the whole paint, I mean it.
Oh God, that's not happening.
I know. Joke.
You are right though. I think Duke is going to try and figure out what's going on with Patrick Gamba. My bet is in the next week or so we'll get a good hint as to what Pat is thinking about doing, whether it be the NBA or returning to Duke. I haven't heard. I don't think he's considering the portal at all. And once we know about that, Duke will begin to allocate resources toward a big man. I think that whether it's Pat or Flory or someone else as the starter, Duke will also look for a backup big man in the portal. So yeah, they're big man is going to be one of the major places that the Blue Devils are looking to. I say portal, but there are freshmen, there are international bigs that Duke's also looking at that are possibilities. Yep. But we won't get into all of that. I want to get to a couple other things about roster construction. The first one is, especially with the way we've seen Darren Rippey playing in the McDonald's practices, McDonald's All-Star game, it's clear that Darren Rippey is going to play a lot of minutes at point guard next year for the Duke Blue Devils. And I'm just going to go ahead and say I think that makes it a little bit less likely that both Caden Boozer and Caleb Foster will be back at Duke. I hate to say that. I would love for Duke to retain all the guys who are not going to the NBA. I just don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think it's just going to be harder to make everything fit. My bet would be, if I had to go out on a limb, my bet would be that Caleb Foster is sort of the least point guardy of those three guys. Darren Rippey's clearly a point guard. I think Caden Boozer is clearly a point guard. I don't think either of them are sort of well suited to play off the ball. Caleb Foster can play off the ball much more than those other two guys, but I'm not sure. I think Caleb sees his future at the pro level as a point guard. So sort of a little bit like what happened with Jeremy Roach, who took his last season and went someplace else where the ball would be in his hands more than it was at Duke. I think Caleb may opt to do the same kind of thing. It's just, there's no way there's going to be 30 plus minutes per game at point guard for Caleb Foster at Duke. And I think there could be someplace else. I have no intel on that. That's just me guessing. But if I have to guess, I'm guessing that one of Caden or Caleb will not be back at Duke next year. And if I have to guess, I'm guessing it's probably Caleb. And I'm sorry to guess it because I love the guy to death and I want Duke to have a 4-year player who's as significant as Caleb Foster has been. I'm just not sure it's going to happen.
I'm not as sure about anything when it comes to this. This might be the biggest toss up of like what could happen. I see a scenario where all three are here. I see a scenario where, 2 are here, right? And in whichever two you want to pick, you can make that determination on your own. But I'll say this: when Jeremy Roach left, I remember how difficult that was for the fan base. And I remember people kind of going, how can we let a guy like that go? How can Jeremy Roach want to leave after 3 years? There must be something wrong. There's nothing wrong. It's just sometimes, again, as you mentioned, it could be aspirations that the player has that they know they can't find at Duke, and he has to leave. But I also remember seeing Jeremy at the Final Four last year with a Duke shirt on after we had eliminated him, right? Because he's still attached to this university. That's going to be the same thing with Caleb. The storybook ending, Jason, would be next year in Detroit, we see Caleb Foster cutting down the nets with a Duke uniform and a national championship hat on his head.
Oh, yeah.
We don't always get those storybook endings. We would love that, but that's why they're storybook endings. Sometimes they just don't work out the way they're written. And so I'm hoping, just on a personal level, that we see him come back, that we see him recover from his injury and come back to once again and kind of say, look, I don't want to leave it like this. I want to leave it with hopefully at least pursuing another national championship and actually getting the job done. Kind of like the guys that he has mentioned has been some of his idols that played at Duke, like Quinn Cook, right? Quinn Cook had so many opportunities to that were like, oh, this guy's never going to win one. He finally got it his senior year, right? He got to dance on him for his last game. I hope that is Caleb's story. But if it turns out to be another way, he's never going to not be a Duke player to me. So just like Jeremy Roach is always going to be a Duke player to me, my mind doesn't even grasp the fact that we played him last year and he was wearing a different uniform. It just doesn't. So I hope that same fate keeps Caleb here. But I think that's one of the biggest discussions of the offseason. Him and Pat. If Pat goes pro or stays, I think that's the biggest question. And I think the second biggest question is, does Caleb stay?
By the way, we messed up. Jeremy Roach played 4 years at Duke, not 3 years at Duke. Remember, he gets the extra COVID.
He got the extra. Right. He is the last of the COVID year, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Last thing I wanted to mention, and again, I have gotten no direct intel on this. I strongly suspect that Darren Harris is going to enter the transfer portal. I know Darren loves Duke, but it just doesn't feel like there are a lot of scenarios where he's going to get consistent playing time as a Blue Devil. And it's so hard to, the intermittent way he plays, like 3 minutes in a half and then like not playing much at all in the second half. It's just so hard to get hot and have an impact on the game in that kind of a situation. It's really tough for me to see him having another year where he takes that kind of role. I mean, maybe John Shire is able to map out improvements in a scenario where Darren is more than 3 minutes in the first half and then not playing in the second half. But I strongly suspect Darren will move down to like either a really good mid-major program or a mid-tier power conference kind of program, and I think he can get paid nicely to do that, and he'll get a chance to shoot 8 3-pointers a game. Look, just this past year we saw a guy like Tyler Nickel was at UNC, barely played at Carolina. Same kind of role that Darren Harris kind of has. And he left Carolina because he wasn't getting enough playing time. And the past 2 years, he's been a significant player, a really, really big-time player for a very good Vanderbilt team. We saw Cade Tyson played at UNC last year, averaged like 2 points per game. Went to Minnesota, went down in terms of quality of his team, went up in terms of how much he could play for them. And he averaged almost 20 points per game for Minnesota. We saw Jaden Schutt play at Duke for 1 year, struggle to get off the bench, to get any playing time. Goes over to, got hurt, and then went over to Virginia Tech. And he's been a significant player for Virginia Tech each of the past couple of years, getting to shoot a lot of 3-pointers and being a major part of the offense when he's in the game. I think Darren Harris can be that kind of player. I'm just not sure he can be that at Duke. And after 2 years, I really wonder if maybe again, he loves Duke. He would love for it to work out as a Blue Devil. I'm not sure it ever will for him. So I would expect that we'll probably hear his name entering the portal fairly soon.
I think this might be the one that I'm most sure about if I had to like put odds on it. And it's because, like you said, if you look at next year's roster, take out all, if we lose nobody to the portal and we don't gain anybody from the portal and we bring in all the recruiting guys and we keep everyone but Cam, Slim, and Malik, we're at 11 guys. It was hard to get him on the floor with 9 guys, right? And remember, Sebastian Wilkins is no longer redshirting, so he's going to be in the mix, right? So you have those. It's just there's just a lot of guys competing for playing time who all think they can play 30 minutes because they all can play 30 minutes. And so if again, it's about weighing what these players want. This year, Darren Harris wanted to stay and fight and try and get into the rotation. It didn't work out the way I'm sure that he wanted it to, but I appreciate the fight. I appreciate the fact that he came back and was part of that continuity that we saw. And again, who knows what's been happening in practice, but I'm sure that he was just as big a part of the success of growing this team together, the leadership and all that, and just being able to accept the role. I wonder what he wants his role to be. If he wants it to be any more than what it was this year, he's probably going to have to look elsewhere to do that. Just because, again, it's a numbers game, and there's already 10 guys on this roster if we keep everybody. And I know we're probably not going to keep as many people this year because, as you mentioned, we're still probably looking at a couple of portal additions this offseason. So, yeah, I hope he gets his playing time. Again, it would be great for him to stay and kind of be a junior leader on this team, in his role. But I understand if he wants his role to change and he has to look somewhere else to do it.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap it up here on the DBR podcast. A lot of stuff to go on. Look, there's NBA declarations. We feel pretty sure that Isaiah and Cam are declaring. Not as sure about Dame and Patrick. We'll see. We've got that stuff coming up. The portal is about to officially open, even though a lot of guys have already declared for it. They're guys who've both declared and picked a new school.
Right.
It's mostly guys where their coaches have left. You're allowed to
following
do that.
The coach. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when your coach leaves, the portal sort of instantly opens for you. That's the way it works. So, but there's a ton to track with Duke roster's construction. I think Duke's going to be Duke's going to be more active in the portal than we have been in recent years. It's going to make for an interesting next 6 to 8 weeks or so, Donald.
And just really quick, Jason, I'm sure we'll extrapolate this further as it goes along, but we're also in the need for a new assistant coach because Evan Bradds has left.
Yes.
To take over Belmont. Just again, we can talk more about it later. We'll have to dive into the weeds of this. I'd love to see a veteran take his place on the bench. Just some veteran that can help with X's and O's, game time situations, things like that. As this team starts to gel, having experience in all parts of the squad is cool. Of course, I trust John with his judgment, but it'd be nice to see, I think, a veteran coach kind of come in here and be part of the coaching staff.
There's a lot of news to happen here, Blue Devil fans. Mm-hmm. Even though the games are done, a lot of stuff going on for preparation for the future. We will bring it to you all here on the Duke Basketball Roundup. He's Donald. I'm Jason. Write to us. Feel free. dbrpodcast@gmail.com. Boy, Donald, the number of notes we have gotten over the past several days, thanking us for the season, talking about, what a fun year it was, commenting on the team and the such. It's just, wow. It's been something else. And we really enjoy reading all of those. I'd say we respond to 80+% of them. If we don't respond to you, I apologize. We're doing our best, but
we're busy.
It's
we
like
have
a
lives.
full-time job, man.
Yeah. And also please don't, we love the thank yous, but really thank you for listening. That's the long and short of it. It's you that creates this.
110%. Absolutely. All right. That's going to do it for now. Again, he's Donald. I'm Jason. Here's the Duke Band playing us out and taking us home.